Alright, so I'm not uploading videos full time right now, and I've got other things I need to do, so I really thank those who are sticking around between my videos. If you guys still enjoy them or want me to come up with something new to try, then go ahead and send me a comment, and I'll see what you guys want me to talk about. Anyway, let's get to the meat of the video. Is the EU on the brink of civil war? Well, there's a politician in Belgium who thinks so. It would seem that a lot of rioting, racially motivated attacks, and destruction of property occurred after the FIFA victory of France. There are either some really racist, really awful sports fans, or maybe there are some people that use the victory for France as an excuse to carry out some very awful crimes, complete with looting, burning, destruction of property, and racially motivated attacks on white people. A leading member of the Belgian right-wing party Vlaams Belang said, "We could be close to a civil war in Europe. Lynching, violence, and vandalism, the urban guerrilla is portentous," Philip de Winder writes on Twitter. Now, I'm just your average run-of-the-mill burger from America, so I don't know what Vlaams Belang, or however it's pronounced, is a party with any real credibility behind it. I did a little research, and it seems, at least from what their Wikipedia page says, is that they are economically liberal, but seem like your traditional right-wing party, complete with my people first and my culture is better than yours, celebrate it or go home sort of policies. Anyway, the leading member of Vlaams Belang reacted on Twitter to the French World Cup riots, during which shops were looted, police were attacked, and hundreds were injured. In his tweet, he added footage of a white man being ambushed by several migrants. "I think the tensions will only increase," De Winter tells Belgian news outlet Scepter. "What we see is a sort of ethnic underside of society, people who aren't raised well and who know nothing else other than rioting, violence, and vandalism. We have reached a pre-revolutionary condition in which people separate themselves from society into gangs motivated by radical Islam." Now, I don't live in Europe, so I can't really tell you accurately how well this statement reflects the general population. However, I can tell that through hours of watching these sort of globalist multiculturalism types, that they both want to end borders and Europe's identity, all while preaching tolerance of other cultures and enforcing the protection of these cultures as they move into Europe. Let me explain. Before, one would know what it was to be British. You could look at them and know where they come from just by the way they speak, their mannerisms and whatnot. It didn't play a role in racial terms, as anyone could come and celebrate the culture of Britishness. Now, over the years, there have been a steady and deliberate destruction of what it means to be British. These globalist, multiculturalist politicians would make you believe that there is no such thing as a British identity, that they're aimless with no real culture, or it's a culture that should be frowned upon and scrubbed from history. They would slowly destroy the cultural identity of Britain and then inject foreign cultures in and extend large protections towards them so that the native people of Britain aren't allowed to question the new culture that's coming in and that is clashing with the dwindling identity that they have there. I think I understood what the politicians were wanting in the beginning. They wanted the native population and the new incoming hordes from the Middle East to mingle and eventually pay into the shrinking pension system and ultimately integrate into society. However, whatever their original plans were, they're marching to a different beat now, as they want to protect and ultimately alienate these cultures that are coming into society and not let them integrate through these protections. They're basically allowing the immigrants to pick up their culture and everything that came with it, the good and the bad, and let them settle in the West. Now, it seems they don't even want them to integrate. This is why we see the sort of idea that civil war is brewing in the EU. It's happening because politicians can't understand the idea that if you shove two vastly different cultures into a cramped box, they'll react violently to one another, because neither of them want to give up their identity. They've already tried weakening the natives' identity, and some fell for it, the useful idiots of the left. But there is a growing resentment in these countries whose identities were being oppressed, and eventually the stress of these communities are going to reach the boiling point. The governments in the EU countries have been trying to curb this rise of right-wing nationalism in the face of the migrant crisis, but they can't stop it. This is what I think might happen. If the EU doesn't allow the people to speak their mind, if they don't allow these right-wing movements to have their voices heard, if they don't start changing some things drastically and very soon, then there will eventually reach a point where everything they feared will come to life. The United Kingdom in particular has been keeping the lid closed on any dissenting opinions for the longest time. They've prosecuted people who merely spoke their mind, or in many cases told the truth about these migrants who had committed crimes. They censor the citizens and punish them for speaking out of line. There are already many right-wing nationalist movements growing in the UK because they know that the government doesn't care about what they think, and they don't care about their problems. All they want is the license to say that they are tolerant and non-racist, all while being authoritarian and oppressing its citizens. I hope that my rambling wasn't too incoherent, but basically what I'm trying to say is that the governments in the EU, the globalists, the multiculturalists, the radical left, or the left in general these days, do not want these cultures to integrate. They want them to have a pocket of their own cultures within the dominant one. This will do nothing but cause friction, especially if the culture they're bringing in is violent or has anti-liberal beliefs. They don't believe women are equal. They don't believe that Western women are equal to Muslim women. It's why they have such a big problem with rape gangs. Anyway, I don't want to risk rambling again. Let's move on. According to De Winter, the intent behind the attacks is as follows. Attacks on the police are attacks on the state's authority, and attacks on shops are attacks on white culture. This form of violence can lead to civil war if governments lose control and white people revolt. He adds, this situation is closer than we think. It could erupt really quickly and large cities will be battlefields. De Winter says, complete neighborhoods are already beyond control of the government and the police because Islamic cultural structures have overtaken them. There will be a point in time where this ethnic violence will be large scale and there won't be much needed for the situation to explode. I really don't want to play the ethnic identitarian thing because I don't think that whites are going to revolt as much as those who actually love the country they're in and want to be a part of it. I think I've said this before, but I'm a civic nationalist. I believe that if people come together with similar ideas, they can live peacefully regardless of race. They have to be a part of the same culture or at least adapt and integrate into it where there's little to no friction. If you don't like it, you don't have to be there. Though I do believe that Islam is a major problem for the West, at least in how it stands currently, though Muslims themselves aren't the problem as much as those who believe it's their only identity and those who follow the Quran to the letter. These governments need to start changing things as soon as they can. If they don't want a rise of right-wing populist nationalism, then they're doing a fine job ensuring it happens. I just really hope that the EU never gets their EU army they've been lusting after for the past few years. If they manage that, you can kiss any sort of liberal democracy goodbye, as Brussels will take over all of Europe under a single banner, though I think that the EU will crumble by then. Sorry if I seemed like I was rambling on this video. I just wanted to let out a few of my opinions. I could talk all day, but for your sake, I'll be sure not to. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you don't agree with what I say, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm always looking for criticism of my ideas. If you want me to review something specific, let me know and I'll take a look. You guys have a wonderful day.